The past 2 years have been monumental for finally holding sexual predators accountable. We've seen a string of high-profile figures and celebrities come under fire, including politicians. Recently, the longest-serving Speaker of the House in history, Republican Dennis Hastert, was sentenced to 15 months in prison and a $250,000 fine after it was discovered that he was serial child molester back when he was a wrestling coach, and that he was making shady payments to keep someone quiet about his sexual misconduct. And of course, there's Roy Moore. Roy Moore ran for the election to the U.S. Senate in Alabama as a Republican nominee. During his campaign, allegations surfaced of Moore's inappropriate behavior towards teenage girls. 8 of 9 women who accused him of sexual impropriety or assault said that they were teenagers at the time. Moore was in his 30s. They came forward after reporters found multiple women with the same accusations and witnesses who could back up the claims. Locals, including police, recalled that Moore was banned from malls for creeping on girls. Seriously, who gets banned from malls? Moore himself acknowledged dating teens as a man in his 30s. Most Republicans tried to distance themselves from Moore, eventually conceding that multiple women who accused him had credible stories. President Trump ignored the allegations against Moore for as long as he could. After all, Alabama hadn't elected a Democrat to Senate in 35 years. But as the race between Roy Moore and his Democratic challenger, Doug Jones, got too close for comfort, the president broke his silence. First, he took to Twitter, voicing his support for Moore. Then, he called Moore and gave him an endorsement. Luckily, voters weren't swayed. They elected Jones to Senate instead of a pedophile. But never forget, when it came down to it, the president endorsed an abusive pedophile. And that brings us to another abuser who hasn't faced any consequences at all, Donald Trump. During his 2016 presidential election, the infamous Access Hollywood tape became public. In it, Trump bragged about grabbing women by their private parts, kissing them without asking. He claimed that his celebrity status was the reason it was okay. This was Donald Trump himself. He literally boasted about committing sexual assault on tape. He also bragged about entering women's dressing rooms during beauty pageants. In 2005 interview with Howard Stern, he said that he walked into their changing rooms while they were naked, and because he was the owner of Miss Universe franchise, he could get away with it. Women from Miss USA and Miss Teen USA accused him of doing exactly what he said he did. At least 19 women have come forward with similar stories of Trump groping or kissing them without permission, but for some reason, there hasn't been a congressional ethics investigation into Donald Trump's history of sexual assault. I mean, women have literally accused him of the very thing that he's bragged about, and somehow Republicans don't have the courage to hold him accountable. How many powerful figures will continue to get away with things like this? Because the only people who have any power to confront them continue to do nothing. Is winning the only thing that matters to Republicans? Where is the sense of decency? Where is the sense of justice and morality? We have a president who has had multiple affairs, paid porn stars money to keep quiet about those affairs, bragged about abusing women and sexually molesting them, degraded them, and faced no consequence whatsoever. So this November, it's up to us to dish out some justice and hold the GOP and Trump accountable. Election Day is November 6th, but early voting begins well before that. Let's do this.
The Republican Party's stance on abortion is well known. They say it's murder and nothing else, that every life is sacred. It would be nice if the GOP remained so adamantly concerned about babies after they're born. Hi, I'm Julia Nieto, and this is why Republicans hate babies. First of all, the United States is the only developed economy in the world that doesn't guarantee paid maternity leave to new mothers. By contrast, moms in Finland get 3 years of paid leave. A recent poll said 96% of Democrats and 88% of Republicans want paid leave, which I believe counts as a majority. Trump actually included a 6-week federal paid family leave in his budget and restated that in his State of the Union. So, Marco Rubio, working with Ivanka Trump, proposed a paid leave bill this year to compete against the Democrats' long-standing Family Act. And the results are not serious. Rubio's plan would allow individuals to borrow from Social Security to replace half their income. So, not paid leave. Obviously, new babies require a lot of attention. Without mom around to feed them and without parents knowing they can financially support their child, things for Junior don't look great. So, what are Republicans doing to help families afford a child? Well, less than nothing. In May, Trump requested spending cuts from Congress, including $7 billion from the Children's Health Insurance Program, or CHIP. That money going straight to billionaire tax cuts, so that insurance for babies and children is more expensive. Like, Are you kidding me? Under the new tax bill, 13 million Americans are projected to lose their insurance over the next 10 years. If parents can't be insured, then their children won't be either. The poor are hit especially hard. By 2025, under the new tax bill, the poorest Americans lose income after taxes, while the rich get extra back. And did we mention 75% of women seeking abortions are poor or lower income? At least the GOP's Better Care Act didn't pass the Senate. The BCA would have reintroduced lifetime coverage caps, which would have affected 20 million people, and especially young children with chronic diseases. And while Republicans seem to hate sick kids, they hate the kids of immigrant families even more. Attorney General Jeff Sessions has made clear a zero-tolerance policy at the border, where any parent who crosses the U.S. border illegally will be separated from their child if caught by border control. The parent is referred for prosecution, and the child is directed to Health and Human Services for care and custody. These facilities, dubbed ice boxes, often lack adequate bedding, proper nutritional and medical resources, and separate sleeping rooms for children, which means they could be endangered if housed with adults. That's going to go down in the history books as inhumane, cruel, and a disgrace forever. So, that. And if you want that to change, how about making sure to vote against these monsters trying to make the world a scarier and more dangerous place? You can also donate to the American Civil Liberties Union, which is fighting the legal fight against this horrific practice. We'll drop a link in the description below. Thanks for watching Prompt. Don't forget to like and subscribe for episodes exposing horrors like this in our country, and we'll see you next time.
I have a great relationship with the blacks. I've always had a great relationship with the blacks.
So I know y'all think that black people love talking about racism, and it's not because it keeps our teeth white. Truth is, people of color face a much different reality than white people, and that's especially true when encountering the Republican-designed criminal justice system. I'm Kareem, and do Republicans hate black people? Let's take a look at a particularly bad to be black state, Florida. Even though African Americans make up only 16% of Floridians, they're incarcerated at a rate that's 400% higher than their white counterparts. That's right, Richard Corcoran, Speaker of the Florida House and Florida Governor Rick Scott. Until y'all fix all that racist mess y'all got going on down there in Florida, neither of you will be invited to the cookout on Sundays. It's incredibly difficult for folks to get their voting rights restored upon their release from prison. The Florida legislature, yes, the same body of folks that voted in favor of the Stand Your Ground law that let George Zimmerman get away with murdering Trayvon Martin. In their 2018 budget, there was a $9.1 million or 40% reduction in mental health treatment, a $1.6 million cut from transitional housing services, $7.6 million cut from substance abuse services, $6 million from therapeutic treatment, and $2.3 million cut from re-entry centers that provide basic education. So basically, locking us up isn't enough. You gotta throw away the key to make sure we never get out, and then take away any available resources so that rehabilitation remains a myth. Thanks. But let's not beat up Florida too bad, y'all. I mean, Florida did give us T-Pain, Pitbull, and my personal favorite, Plies, baby. I kind of understand what Chameleonaire was talking about when he said, "Police trying to catch me riding dirty." As this chart shows, police are 3 times as likely to search the cars of stopped black drivers than stopped white drivers. Nationally, black drivers are also more likely to be pulled over and less likely to receive a reason for being stopped. In one Rhode Island study, black drivers were stopped more even though they were less likely to receive a citation, meaning they're stopped for no reason. Yes, people, driving while black is a real thing. The crazy part about it is that being rich, famous, or even an innocent grandma won't stop you from being pulled over and getting your ass beat as the police drag you out your own car. Just ask 65-year-old Mrs. Rose Campbell. Maybe the solution is if all black people just took more public transportation, right? Good Lord, I wish it were that easy. Cause that's not the only problem we've got, y'all. Let's talk about drugs. So police arrest black Americans for drug crimes at twice the rate of whites. Okay, and before you spew out one of your racist little, "well, black people just do more crime" comments, let me make this very clear. According to federal data, meaning data obtained from your national government, studies have found that whites use drugs at comparable rates and sell drugs at even higher rates than blacks. So how does this make any sense, y'all? White people literally make up over 75% of this country, but somehow black folks are the ones who are overpopulating the prisons? Well, in order to make sense of this, I'm gonna have to give you a brief history lesson. Okay, so once upon a time in the early 1980s, poor people wanted to get high off cocaine just like rich people, but they couldn't afford the high price that came with it. Poor folks discovered that if you mix cocaine with baking soda, add a little water, heat it up, I mean, I don't know the exact recipe, I'm just taking an educated guess here, but if you mix cocaine with other white substances, then you'll have much more drugs drugs for a drastically cheaper price. Thus, crack was born. And while crack and powdered cocaine are made up of the same exact base drug, people who are arrested for crack possession who happen to be black and happen to be poor faced far harsher penalties than white people who were arrested for powdered cocaine possession. While a black person found with only 5 grams of crack cocaine faced a 5-year mandatory minimum prison sentence, a white person holding powdered cocaine could receive the same sentence only if he or she held 500 grams. 500, y'all! I mean, good Lord! In 1995, the U.S. Sentencing Commission concluded that the disparity created a racial imbalance in federal prisons and led to more severe sentences for low-level crack dealers than for wholesale suppliers of powdered cocaine. As a result, thousands of people, mostly African Americans, have received disproportionately harsh prison sentences. The Fair Sentencing Act of 2010 was an act of Congress that was signed into federal law by U.S. President Barack Obama that reduced the disparity between the amount of crack cocaine and powder cocaine needed to trigger certain federal criminal penalties, and it also eliminated the 5-year mandatory minimum sentence for simple possession of crack cocaine, among other provisions. And here's the main point. Republicans have fought reform on all these issues, every single one, every step of the way. Want to know who sponsored the Fair Sentencing Act? 16 Democrats to just 6 Republicans. Look, people, racism is a real thing, and just like y'all might be tired of us black folk talking about it, we're tired of living it. So since we're all tired, let's just go take a nap, and when we wake up, everything's gonna be all peachy clean and rosy and nice. It's like, no, I'm just kidding. Don't go to sleep, y'all. Stay woke and stand up, because like my friend Donald Glover or Childish Gambino said, this is America. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to like the video and subscribe, and remind your friends that things are up, y'all. Thanks for watching.